This is the George Wheeler sighting. George Wheeler was a former New York State trooper and a World War II fighter pilot, so he's a pretty credible guy. And he had a sighting about a year before this of a big craft going outside of town. He was a town cop, and he seen an orange glow up on top of Tunnel Hill, which is just Tunnel Hill, and he just assumed it was a fire. So he come up here, and upon arrival he discovered a strange lit object which he estimated was about 500 feet distance and hovering about 100 feet above the ground. There were 6 bluish white lights, window type portholes on the side that he could see, and you could see shadows inside, moving inside it. In the middle of the side face, there appeared to be an open panel where he seen a turbine like moving in there. There's a black appendage hanging down from the craft, and if you got any, there's a picture if you can find this anywhere around town yet. There's pamphlets around. Well, when he noticed the glow, he contacted Officer Helmer, the dispatcher at the time, and told him where he was going. And so Helmer, then he couldn't get him back on a pager. Wheeler wouldn't answer. So Helmer contacted Paul Fredrickson, who was a nursing home manager, lived right below the hill, and he looked up and he seen a orange glowing object for about 10 seconds and it was gone. Well, Officer Wheeler's wife, listening to the police scanner, heads off to look for her husband. In the meantime, a farmer headed out of town comes across Wheeler's car in the lane of traffic. He found driver's door open. Wheeler was unconscious, tried to come to. He come and then slumped back down. Was taken home, was taken to the hospital the next day for like 11 hours and then released, and then he went back in a couple days later and he had all kinds of headaches and health problems. He did have 2 heart attacks before that, but he was dead within a year. But at first when he got to the hospital, he told Doc Frank, he said, "They got me, Doc, they got me." And they said, "What?" "The UFO, they got me." He seen he seen the glow, and there was a light on top of it that was so bright you couldn't look, and he opened his door and touched his gun, and that's when they zapped him. And the local filling station had a new mechanic move into town like 2 months before this, and he told me, I talked to him myself, he said, 2 days before this, I went home and told my wife, we got to get the hell out of this town, they're all crazy. And he said, 2 days later I get to work and the boss says, you got to go get his Wheeler's cars, patrol cars up at a rock quarry. He said, what happened to it? He said, it got hit, zapped by a UFO. And he's like, oh my, he called his wife and said, we're out of here. And the plugs and the points and the starter were fried like they were welded. And it had been in there 3 weeks before that for service, but he just chalked it up to high voltage, some freakish thing. He said, I knew all this UFO stuff was real 3 days later when 3 men in black coming in a service station wanting all those parts. And when they found out that we had already threw them away to the junkyard, he said they got so mad I thought they were going to kill me.